Hey y'all, oh, something in my eye. I was gonna just do a little update for all of you new people that are new to Etsy, new to the group, and you older ones that are just new to getting started good. I'm trying to get your shop selling. Just some little hints on the process. It's a new year. Everybody's starting out trying to get their shops going. It's a good time to do that because whenever whenever you know times are slower, because it is a slow time of year, it's a good time to do all these updates. I'm working while I talk, y'all, because I got several orders to get done for Amazon. But here's the thing everybody needs to get. If you're new and your shop's been going slow and you're just starting to make changes, first of all, first and foremost, it doesn't happen overnight. Okay? It took me 7 years to get to where I am. Not for that to be discouraging, but when I started, there was no Etsy rank. There was no help. There were no people to tell you what to do. You learned it on your own, or you didn't get it, or you gave up. Pretty much it. There wasn't the resources that you currently have. So lucky for you. Next, the thing is that you got to remember that. If you're changing titles and things right now, and you're going, yeah, I've done all this stuff, and I'm not seeing any results, you have to remember the second thing, that right now is the slowest time of the year. It's just now starting to pick up for Valentine's orders. Usually from New Year's up until closer to the end of January, when it's time for Valentine's to start pulling in, it's dead. People don't have money. They spend it all at Christmas, so they're not shopping. So that could be why you're not getting views. Nobody's there. A lot of people are saving their money that they have left over to survive until the next payday, if they get paid monthly, and they don't get paid till the end of January. And some businesses, and like my husband works for the state, you get paid once a month, and they paid early for Christmas because they took a vacation, and it's a longer pay period in there. And so you have to remember that. You can't get discouraged if it's not working. But that being said, that's if you are doing the correct things. Now, I've seen many new people, many new to Etsy Rank, many new to this group, and to other groups that I'm in, that start doing things and they start making changes, and they get upset because I did this and it's not working, and I got an A rank and I'm still not getting seen. Well, here's the problem. First of all, I love Etsy Rank, but just because you have an A rank doesn't mean diddly squat if you're not using the right words. You can have an A all day long, and if you've not got the proper keywords or the search phrases that customers are actually using, it's not going to matter. You are not still going to be seen if you're not getting your title set up so you will be found in the searches your items need to be. And before you go off, making changes on things, like a lot of people are doing, they're just sitting down and they just think, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I just got to change all my keywords. You need to make sure you're using the right ones. That's what the tool's for, to research them. A lot of people are not properly researching things, and they're not doing some of the main things they need to do first in order for this all to work for you. You can't just think out of your own little head and think, I'll call it this, and this is what I call it, and so that's what I'm going to use. what you call something and what I call something might be two different things, depending on what part of the country or the world you live in. Okay, so there's that. Everybody doesn't call everything the same. Next. Some keywords are better than others. You have to think like a customer would search things. Sometimes as sellers, we overthink it, and we use big terms that they wouldn't use or wouldn't even know. I mean, I have seen that multiple times where people are using words that are more technical words that they would call something, but a customer doesn't know those words and isn't using it. If they don't know you call something a roly-poly, they're not going to use roly-poly. You know, or they don't know that you named that picture, you know, Italian lady by the sea. They're not using that, okay? They're not. You have to think down. You have to dumb it down just a slight tad for your customers, because they are going on there doing a general search for things, and they don't know big words or fancy names if you give names to products that you made up. They don't know your brain. They don't know your made-up name, and they're never going to know it until it gets in front of them and they sees it. You know, when they see it, they'll know what the made-up name you came up with is. I mean, there's too many times I've seen people, they give fancy names for things thinking it's going to make their product stand out, but what they don't understand when they put it in the title is if you made it up, the rest of the world doesn't know what you made up. And so they're not using it, and they're not going to type it, and you're still not going to be seen. So you have to avoid those common mistakes of doing that. The first thing, write this down, get a piece of paper, okay? The very first thing you need to do when you are trying to develop new keywords for your item is first figure out what it is. It's a custom wood sign, okay? It may be found under rustic wood sign, reclaimed wood sign, custom wood sign. It could be found under all kinds of different things. You search for the very, very basic thing first on Etsy. Go to Etsy, type in wood sign, see what pops up. Then you start narrowing it down, custom wood sign. You find a seller that has similar things to you, that's kind of selling the same thing, because guess what? I don't care how unique you think you are, somebody else is selling it too. You are not the only person that have this idea unless you're a complete genius and you have come up with some new product nobody else has ever heard of. Because most of us as handmade sellers and artists are doing things that we have seen and learned how to do, and somebody did it before we did. It's not completely out of your head. And if it is something brand new you made up, well, you're in there all by yourself and you got a whole other problem of getting seen because nobody's seen it or heard of it. Totally new product. So you go and you find somebody that sells the same thing. You see what wording. First of all, you don't look at just all of them, okay? Some of them may sell, some of them may not. You want to find the one that looks like they've sold a lot. So generally what I do is I look at the thumbnail picture, and it shows reviews down at the bottom under there. And you pick one that has had a lot of reviews. You know, several hundred or thousand reviews. Click on that person, and you'll see how many sales they've had. And you can also tell if what they sold is similar products to yours, or do they have something else in their shop that's selling better. I found somebody when I was researching for the horsehair jewelry my friend makes. Looked like they were, they're doing horsehair jewelry. They have that. They have braided bracelets. They have pendants. So they had a lot of sales. But what I found out was that wasn't what she was selling the most of. So therefore, maybe she's not the one to follow as much, because it's not what she's not selling as much of the same thing. I found people that had a lot of sales, and they were selling custom wood signs. That's how I found them. But when I clicked on their shop, that wasn't their biggest seller. So even though they had 2,000 reviews, those reviews were not on their signs. they were on something else that was actually a bigger seller. And after I looked at it, their titles for the signs might not have been. They got lucky and got found. So you have to kind of look at that and make sure you're picking a good person to check. And you pick not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 or 6. You're going to pick multiple big shops to look at. And you're going to go in and you're going to look at the tags that they've used at the bottom. You're going to look at their title and see what keywords are in there. And what you're looking for is a common thread. You're going to look for commonly used wording, okay? You're going to write down what Mary Jane's shop over here has and what you see them using throughout the shop, because they've had a lot of sales and they're obviously making money and doing pretty good. So then when you go to your next big seller, you're going to look for, that'll be simple. You're going to look for something similar. You're going to see if the next top seller is using similar words. You're going to start your little piece of paper like, yeah, that's not one, but have a little list going, and you're writing down all those keywords that you're seeing. And you're going to just make a list and just write down a list. This is the first thing you do. Before you go on Etsy Rate and do anything, before you start changing anything, you go through and you get this list going that you see that are commonly used by other top sellers. If you want to be in the top with the top, you got to get there. You got to figure out how they're doing it. And every single product is different. I'm using my hammer. So you got to find the keywords that are going to match up and be the top keywords for your particular item. So that's why you're looking at multiple sellers, not just, one. I mean, I would even keep on looking until I found 10 or 15 or 20 top sellers in my thing. And you're going to look through multiple pages, not just page 1. You continually look, and you look and see. I see Mary Jane's shop here on this page and this page and this page. I see them on multiple pages. I see a lot of listings from them. And I see Tommy's shop over here, and it's got multiple listings on there. And then I see Jerry's shop, and he's got multiple listings. And you pick the ones that you see their shop names time after time on different pages. And that are also, you're looking for that reviews, and so then when you look on their shop, how many items they have in their shop. Sometimes they may have a few items in their shop, and the way they're doing it is Instagram or Facebook or somewhere else, or they're spending all day going renew and paying a lot of money to do it. You have to kind of look at it and get an idea, how are they doing it when they only have 50 items in a search this big with 50,000 things in there? Or do they have 100 or 200 items? A lot of them are going to have at least 100. And they're making their shop relevant. When their shop is relevant, here's what that means. That means when you look on page 1, you might see them. On page 2, you might see them. On page 3, on 4, or 5, or 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and you keep going. You're going to see listings for them. They're relevant in the search. They are seen more often. And there's going to be multiple people that you're going to see like that are relevant in the search, that are top sellers. And then you're going to see your little guys like you. But you're looking for these top people first. And once you find them and you write those words down, you're gonna make a list for each shop, and then you're gonna go through and you're gonna start with one, and you're gonna check word 1 that you wrote down. That was something they used that you saw in several of their listings on their shop. A lot of times it will be a phrase like, if it's wire wrap jewelry. Wire wrap jewelry is in every single title in that shop. Somewhere reference to wire wrap jewelry. If you go follow Starla Moore in the Handmade Apples and you look at her shop, every single listing is going to have, because it's a main search phrase, skeleton key necklace. That's why all her necklaces show there. It's in all of them. So that's the kind of thing you're looking for. What is a repetitive thing they're using to make their shop work? Then you look and you're going to see what is it that this one is using that seller number 2, that's a top seller, is using also. And that seller number 3 is using also. And seller number 4 is using also. And when you see multiple shops using those main keywords, you're going to put a really big asterisk beside it because a lot of people are using it. And they're getting a lot of good sales. That means, you know, that's when it's high competition wording. And you're going to see that on Etsy, right? But when you see that a lot of top sellers are using it, then that's a little key thing you want to write down. So you know, hey, this is working for a lot of people. So I want to keep up with this. That's the first thing you do, is you find those shops and you write those words down, and then you go from there and you get the list of words that you see being used the most over multiple shops. Not just the one shop used it one time, but are multiple shops using it and getting seen in the same large searches. Because if they are, that's an indication that that's what you want to do too. That you want to be found in those same searches, and you want to use that same good wording. It's an indicator for you to do that. And read all that. So you're going to want to write those down. And that's the word you're going to start with that you're going to take over to Etsy Rank. Okay? So step number 2, after you do all that work on Etsy first, okay, and you find those multiple keywords, that you can find those just from searching the one keyword first, but you can, as you're looking, when you search the one keyword, excuse me, I'm dropping stuff, you can, and you're looking in their shops, you can find a lot of different keywords. And then you go and you go back on Etsy, and those keywords you wrote down that you've highlighted, and you've got your little list of 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever it is that you see repeated, go back to Etsy and do a search again. And see, do you see those sellers under those phrases under there? Yep, they're ranking pretty good. All right, these are working for them. Then you're going to go to Etsy Rank, and you're going to use that research tool. And you're going to pull it, and you're going to see what it says. Chances are, when you pull it from there, it's going to show high competition, high engagement, wording. You're going to get your reviews or your ratings for that wording are going to show you, it's going to match up between there and Etsy, because you're going to see that what that person has used is usually high wording, and it's used a lot by multiple sellers. So you know you're on the right direction. I'm sorry, my dog's having a problem. I don't know why. I don't know what his problem is. Cupid, enough. Then you look, and you're going to look at, as a long tail keyword, look at the keyword graph and all of that. You're going to do all of that research on Etsy. Then you're going to figure out, okay, I've done my research. I've looked at my keywords. They fit for my item. Before you put them in the title, you don't just make up things first and throw it down. Because when you do that, people tend to do that, and they started thinking out of their own head and going with their own words. And then they find out later that what they've used isn't working, and they're starting over again. And they're this time reworking titles constantly. I'm going to be telling you, here's the truth. Although I need to go through, and my titles all need to be fixed to be more in what the recommendations are now. I'm not doing it just yet because I hadn't had time. For one thing, I'm working. I'm getting orders because old titles are working. But what I have found is, as I slowly change them, and once I get them fixed to a readable title, they do seem to be getting more sales, maybe a little more views, but I'm not changing the words. I'm using all those good keywords I've went through and I've researched. And I'm just turning them into a sentence. And I'm going to show y'all how to do that I'm going to show you how I'm taking those and turning them into a sentence, okay? But you have to take it slow and you have to be deliberate with it. Because I'm seeing sellers that are going, I changed all my titles and I got to an A, but I'm still not getting any views. Guess what? If you didn't change the word and the word needed to be changed and you just made it an A, you still ain't helped yourself. You just made it an A. Multiple sellers that have made their titles A's from before he updated the site to be more in line with what the guidelines are to help you out. Anthony does this, takes his time. He did this for free for a long time, so yay for him. It's his birthday today for Etsy Rank since he started it. But there are, so it's taken him a lot of time. And when he updated it for a reason. He updated it so it would be following more what the new recommendations were. So that when you looked at your title, you were making your titles more like readable to help you get it so that it didn't have multiple keywords and it wasn't just keyword stuff. Keyword stuff titles are still working, but because it's getting you seen in a lot of searches. But it may not be working if the customer looks at it and it's a jumble of words and it's like, what is it? What are they saying? What is this title? What are they selling? They can't understand it. That is why Etsy said make it readable. So when you change that and you get rid of some of the punctuation, and it's like 3 short phrases, or 4 may work. I haven't tried 4 yet, but I'm going to and see. If not, I'm going to stick with 3. But once you get that in there so it looks more like a sentence or a little paragraph for a customer, it's great. That's what he's trying to, his little alerts and things are trying to get you to understand, not to use so much punctuation so it looks like a computer. He changed it for your own good. Didn't mean your title suddenly became crap. It just meant it wasn't following the guidelines. If you had a good title to start with, your title may still be great. But if it's not following the guidelines, then it's going to need to be updated just a little bit. And that's all he did when he fixed that. So everybody, had a mental breakdown when they suddenly saw their title went to an E. But it was because you had too much punctuation. And all you needed to do is figure out how to take all that, get rid of some punctuation, get rid of some of the duplicate wording, and make it a sentence. Once you do that, and when you're going in to change it, don't remove anything good. Don't remove anything that, when you did your research, came up as a good keyword that you wanted to keep in there. That's the biggest mistake people are making. So while you're doing this revamping your stuff for the new year, don't make the mistake of taking out good keywords out of a title. If you were getting seen under those searches, you want to make sure you still are. If you can't figure out how to do it, don't touch it. If it's working and it ain't broke, don't touch it yet until you figure out how to do it correctly. Because too many people are jumping on the short train bus and let me make it short because Etsy said make it short and readable. And they're just forgetting the readable part and going short. And when they jump on that short bus and they take out, if they have like 4 good key phrases in their title that was getting them seen, and they take them all out and just leave 1, and suddenly their views drop, they can't figure out why. It's because you did away with 3 of the phrases that were getting you views. Therefore, you're not seen in those locations any longer, and that's why you lost views. So you don't want to do that. So make sure not to lose any good ones. You also make too much at one time. You do do you a little handful, see how they're working, work slowly, 3 or 4 a day, give it a break. Don't go change your whole shop in 5 days and figure out you made a mess and you have to redo, because there's a lot of people that are doing that right now. They messed up because they jumped the gun and didn't know what they were doing first. Now they're having to spend all this time redoing their shop. I hate for anybody to have to do that. If you don't understand, ask questions, because there's too many people that don't understand how they should research it first. Don't understand how to use the Etsy rank tool to research it. They don't know how to take it after you do that. When you fix that title, customers are not going to type the entire title in. Nobody's going to type the exact thing word for word. They might type parts of it in. And the whole thing is your title has to have the parts they type in. So you go back after you pick a title you want to use, and you do your next step after you've researched Etsy rank, and you're going to go back to Etsy. And you are going to research again on Etsy. Look at my steel wheel. I keep throwing it down. Where you're going to show up. You're going to put in the section of your title and see what the search looks like after you figured out what little phrase you're going to do. You look at that phrase on Etsy and say, okay, there's items like mine here. This is where I need to be. Go to the next part that you're using in your title. Okay, there's items like mine. That's where I need to be. You check each section. Then you look at your shop, and everything in there that's a similar item. If you have a lot of wire wrap pendants, then wire wrap pendant is going to be in every single title for all of those items. Not just 3 or 4 or 5. I've had sellers that say, well, everybody says, here's my my feeling on the commas versus dashes. You can use both. You can use either one. But here's why I use a comma. Comma is used more likely in a sentence than a dash on a regular basis. And the video that I watched, and I may have a link somewhere in here to it. I posted it one time. I want to think I might have got it from Anthony, and then I watched it several times. You're going to get a brain freeze either way. I posted the video, I'm pretty sure, but the video I watched, it was 2 ladies that work for Etsy that do their little videos. And they posted this right after they did this change up of the recommendations for the title. And I think they did it because there was a lot of issues and a lot of things that going on in the forums about it. And people were confused, and they realized people were getting confused, and they wanted to clarify. And what they said was this. They did like a Q&A. And they were doing some of the questions that were being asked. One of them was, how short do I need to make my title? Answer was, you don't have to make it, a 3-word title. We give you 140 character space. Use it. Put your good keywords in there. Just make it read like a sentence. That's what they said. What they said was, we give you the amount of space that we feel is enough space for a short title. So use it. Then what they said was, in order to fit your good key phrases in there so that you can fit 3 or 4 in there, we recommend, putting custom stamp mother's necklace, and then put a comma, and then put your next phrase. And then, that's what they said. Comma, and make sure to leave a space after the comma. And she said, somebody asked, do I have to leave a space after the last word and then the comma and another space? Answer was no. You can put the comma, but make sure you leave a space after it. Leave a space in between those punctuations. Now, honestly, a period might work just as good. short phrase period, short phrase period, short phrase period. You don't need one after the end of that. But basically what they were saying is the comma and the space makes it read more like a sentence or like 3 little short sentences. That's where the short comes in. And that makes it more readable for the search engine. It just kind of makes it easier because the search engine sees, instead of it being a long run-on sentence like all that jumble did before, if you didn't use any kind of punctuation in it, and people had gone to the not using punctuation at all, and it just looked like a bunch of gibberish of words. There was no rhyme or reason about it. It was just a whole string of words in there. No stop and start. And it makes, you know, it's kind of, doesn't look good to the customer. And whether or not it affects the search engine, how it reads it or not, who knows. But it might make it more difficult. So that's why you put a punctuation after the search phrase when you're trying to get exact phrases. So their recommendation was comma and a space. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I'm thinking it probably would work just as well if you used a period and a space, but a comma and a space looks just as good. And, excuse me, I gotta look for something. And I'm praying it's here, because if it ain't, then I got problems. Well, I'm going to have to go to Michael's and use a coupon because I'm running out of leather, y'all. That ain't black, that's blue. Shoot. Oh, got a little more. I got that lucky to have some today, but that's the thing, is making it readable. So it reads more like a sentence and doesn't look like a gibber, basically. Because customers, the truth is, they type it into search engine. I've asked several people that's, you know, shop on Etsy and Amazon and places, they type it in, they don't read the title when it comes up in front of them. I mean, honestly, a lot of them never read the title. But some do. And they're more likely to read the part that's under the thumbnail, under the picture, than they are the entire title. Because when they're searching and the search comes up, that's the part that's under the picture that they see in the search. So they're more likely to read that. So if they see something like, say with what I do, and it's hand stamped jewelry, well, it may, if they search hand stamped jewelry or a mother's or a stamped, where else that went, or if they search for a stamped necklace for mom, it's going to pull up sterling silver, and it's going to pull up regular I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. It's going to pick up the regular aluminum or brass or copper, and it's going to pick up all the metals in one. So if they're looking particularly for sterling silver, they're going to be looking at the title and the materials. When they click on it, they might look at the title to see if it's sterling silver before they take time to click on it. So if you put sterling or sterling silver stamped mother's necklace, and they're looking sterling, they're going to click on it first. Because if they don't type in sterling silver stamped necklace first, then they won't find it. But they might find just stamped necklaces, and then they'll search out the sterling from there. So that's why it's important that what shows up under the thumbnail be one of your most important keywords at the beginning, because you're going to, that's what they're going to see. So you want it to make sense what's under there. Even if the rest of it might go off the deep end a little bit, you want what's under the picture to show better. And the way Anthony has it, it highlights that this part shows under the thumbnail. And then he gives you a preview so you can see what it looks like. You can see the picture of it, and you can see what's under it. And if what's under that picture doesn't make good common sense, you don't want to use it. Or if it's a fancy name you made up, you don't want to use it. You want to use what the item is, you know, the most direct thing for them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's why that's important, is just because they're more likely to read that part than you are the entire thing. So you want to get that. But the main thing is to make sure that what's in that title are 3 good search phrases, so that when you search on Etsy yourself, you're seeing similar items to yours. If you sell scented candles, you want to make sure, if you're going to put scented, yeah, well, first of all, you're going to use scented candles in there. If you're a candle maker, #1 keyword, write it down and use it, because that's where you want to be seen. If you want to put a raspberry scented candle, put the smell in there. Yeah. Hey, as far as that goes, if you're a candle maker, you should have a really easy time with this, because they're all candles, for one thing, and most of your keyword phrases are going to be the same. You're in all of your listings. You're not going to want to have it exactly like everybody else's. Not that it's going to matter that much. It's a matter of getting your stuff in front of the customer. But even if half your titles are the same and in the same order, it's getting you in the same searches. So all your items show together. But I would put raspberry scented candle, pumpkin scented candle, coconut scented candle. You know, change it up for the smell in front of it. You're good to go. Copy listing, change the smell, change the photo, good to go. Everything else in that listing is going to be the same. The tags will be the same, except for maybe a smell. And if it's a size difference, depends on if you're going to try to get more listings in your shop. If you're going to list them as this size and this size as duplicate listings, just the size amount is different. Or if you're going to have a drop down for the size with the price. When you do a drop down for the size, you remember the cheapest price is the price the customer sees first. When they're doing the search, whatever the cheapest price on your listing variations is what they see. So if you have a small candle that's $6 and a large candle that's $12, they see the 6, not the 12 until they click the listing. So you have to keep up. You have to remember that too. So it depends on how you want your listing to show up in front of the customers. But, you know, if you do candles and wax melts, honestly, I got that down pat. I mean, you do all the candles pretty much the same, change the smell. All the wax melts pretty much the same, change the smell. Anything else that's under candles and wax melts that go in there, you're going to do it the same. And all of them are going to be, the wax melts and the candles, I would put in the tags, scented candle for the in the tags for the wax melts, and vice versa, because that way it ties it all together, and all of your stuff will probably show up under both. They might look and see your stuff and decide they want a candle and the wax melts, and when they get in your shop. But you want it so that everything is